Okay. Hey,
Okay.
Lars, kick it off.
Do we want to get do we want to get started? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Uh, Welcome everyone to another episode of our Discord hangout. After after almost a month break. Great to see you back again. And we have couple of familiar faces, couple of regulars, and a couple of people who have never been on this channel, which is why I think we start with a really quick introduction, just one or two sentences, and I'm going to skip myself. I'm also going to skip Dominic, who's my co-host, and start right away with Philip.
Hi everyone. My name is Philipp Koch. I'm senior director at Adobe, and next Wednesday, I believe, it marks my 25th company anniversary with Day
Congratulations.
and Adobe and CQ and Communique and AEM and whatever you call it. So that's
Excellent.
my history.
Great to have
All
you on the
right.
call. Ron, you're next up. And Ron is a recurring, not yet a regular, but a recurring face here.
Indeed. Yeah. So, Ron Nagy, I have already had my 25th anniversary, but years ago. But I am on the AEM team, and yeah, I vibe code occasionally because it's fun, and
Yeah.
it
Oh,
usually doesn't hurt people, but sometimes I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. I think Tom Valletta is still figuring out video setup, so I'm skipping to Alex, who I can already see, and Alex just needs to unmute himself. And
Yep.
Alex, I think this is your first time.
It's my first time. It's even my first time on Discord, so I'm discovering all those colors and buttons that are
Yep.
everywhere. Nice. Yeah, I'm a young guy actually. I've been there for only 17 years, so compared to the previous ones, sorry. I think I started like 1 month after Lars, so from the days after time, and I worked on CQ, AEM, Edge Delivery Services, Helix, and now DA, I think. Yeah, principal
Excellent.
scientist.
Great. Tom Valletta, you're up next on my screen.
Okay. I'm Tom Valletta. I'm the enterprise architect for Adobe Workfront. I have been leading the AI efforts and kind of acting as a product manager for AI stuff at Workfront for a little while. We just got some product managers to head it up, so now I'm free to do more architecture again. So that's been my focus. It's been a lot of fun. I love it.
And Tom, great to meet you. I just realized you're the only one that I have never spoken before to, so I'm going to pepper you with extra questions. So
Awesome.
just brace yourself.
Nice to meet you,
Um,
Lars.
and Dragos, are you able to say something? If not, Dragos, please figure out how to turn on your microphone and camera. And in the meantime, I'm going to go to Tom Cranston, who is a familiar face, and I'm glad to say somebody that I met in person. So, Tom, please introduce yourself.
Hi guys. Yeah, I'm an AEM solution architect. I've been working on the product for 15 years. I've worked with some of the biggest people on the planet, like Nissan, Twitter, Ford, Jaguar Land Rover, everybody. Yeah, my latest tricks is going deep into edge delivery services.
Great. Okay, and then next up is Chris, another familiar face here on the channel.
Hi, everyone. You know me. My name's Chris. I work on DIA.
okay. And just as an info, we are doing a recording for the ones that are joining the first time because we put that on YouTube because we have much more people watching the session afterwards normally.
Yeah. And I'm going to quickly change my sitting position so that that the company who's sponsoring my room today doesn't feature so prominently in the recording. And well, Dragos is still figuring out how to connect. So in his absence, let me introduce him. Dragos and I have been working together for almost 10 years, starting originally on Adobe AI Runtime, and Dragos is leading a lot of the heavyweight AI initiatives in Adobe Experience Manager sites. And I'm really glad to have Dragos here on the call for the first time. And I'm crossing fingers that Dragos actually manages to turn on camera and microphone. But even if not, we are still going to proceed. So topic today is not old dogs can learn new tricks. The topic today is vibe coding. And we've been the interesting thing about vibe coding is that the term vibe coding is less than half a year old. Also about half a year old is the introduction of Claude Code as really a novel approach to coding tools, which are not tied to the editor first, but are essentially prompt first. And on top of that, there's this. There was a quote by Dario, the Anthropic CEO, which is 6 months old, and he said, in 6 months, 90% of all code is going to be written by AI. And I realized that this is a super biased sample, but if 90% of the code that is coming out from that is being committed from your GitHub account, is AI written, could you please raise your hand? We won't hold it against you, and I'm going to start. So, okay, and I see Alex judging me. I wrote I wrote a while ago. I opened a pull request for an MCP server for the AEM CLI, and Alex's command was something like, I'm not stunned that you did this. I'm stunned that you opened this not as a draft PR but as a real PR. So I think this categorizes, or this, let's say, this outlines the differing, maybe the differing attitudes to vibe coding across the group. Good. So, where do we start? I think so. The second most impressive thing, and that's why I would like to start with Philipp, is Philipp and I have been working together since 2007. And Philipp moved up in engineering management to the point where he wouldn't be allowed to touch code anymore. And that has been the case for, Philipp, how many years?
Yeah, it's roughly. Can you hear me? Oh man.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, for roughly 10 years, I would say.
Yeah. So, and what brought you back?
A couple of things. So first thing, I changed my role. I've given up my responsibilities of a 150 people team working on AM assets and focus on a new area around fast iteration. And so fast iteration requires fast coding, and there were a couple of things that made me become a real addicted vibe coder. One is Lars talked once about Poe.com. Poe.com was kind of a wrapper around multiple LLMs, and one day when I was already in my new role, I got an email from Poe.com telling me, "Hey, now we build an intelligent LLM-powered app builder." And I ignored it for a few days, and then I jumped back again to this email, clicked on the link, and became a vibe coder 6 months ago.
Okay. Would you be willing to share a fun project that you did with vibe coding recently? And if
Yeah,
you can screen share, that would give you extra credits.
okay. Yeah, I'll try to. But essentially, I think I just Lars. I listened to the last Discord session on YouTube, and I heard you mentioning my name around vibe coding while saying, whatever problem you have, tell me and I'll vibe code you the
Yep.
app to solve the problem. And essentially, yeah, I became pretty much kind of crazy around everything. I started to bore my wife a lot about AI and vibe coding, talking in the evenings about it, about my excitement, till she told me, "Philip, don't talk anymore about it. I heard it. I know that you're excited about it." So I've chosen other people to talk to about
Yep.
it going forward, like Lars. So essentially, I started actually, again, Lars, as you mentioned, with a very with the fact that I haven't coded for 10 years a lot, and I really wanted to build apps again, and I didn't want to just build front-end apps. I also wanted to build integrations, and so essentially it ended up vibe coding being so playful, actually. I built 3 apps in 14 hours with front and back end all together, and actually just using Poe.com and some
Yeah.
ChatGPT Claude stuff.
Do you have
And
one that you can share right now?
yeah, I can share one. And so essentially the one I'm sharing with you, hold on. This is getting confusing.
Yeah. Somebody needs
Give
to
me
vibe code an intuitive screen sharing interface.
Yes, exactly. Give me 1 second. Okay. Let me know what you're seeing. Can you see the screen?
Yes, we can
It's
see the
coming,
screen.
yes.
Okay.
Assets bulk
Right.
tool.
Yeah, it's called Asset Bulk Tool. So essentially, this is Poe.com. Not sure if everyone is familiar with it. It's web only, very simple. I would say fairly capable, especially for things where you need a simple UI and then maybe integrate with some APIs, backend services, etc. This one is I built really around a customer problem that one had. So there's a customer around. He was always asking for some tools that just accept a spreadsheet and does bulk operations on assets. And so while talking about his problems, I just added prompt after prompt after prompt. And what you've seen is I started building an asset renamer, updater, bulk delete, bulk search, and the beauty about this, it also creates just documentation without me digging in to write everything. And so essentially, it became a real kind of iterative process, and I could never ever imagine that I could do this by just listening and then go back and writing code and go back again to the customer. It was just like almost live with the customer building this tool set. So that's one of the examples I can share, Lars.
Can,
Yeah.
we did not see the screen. Did you see the screen, Lars?
Yes. Yes, I saw it.
Oh,
I
funny.
had to
Okay.
click on. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Okay.
Hopefully next time.
Yeah. Let's see if it's working better for Ron. Ron, Do you have an example that you want to share and that you want to talk about?
Do I have an example that I want to share? Not exactly. I built something the other day, a customer lookup tool, but I don't want to share the customer lookup tool because it's probably not useful in this audience. But yeah, I mean, I've built a bunch of stuff from, information screens. Basically, the beautiful thing about coding is like I I can build interfaces pretty, and I've always been, more on the kind of UI design side of things rather than development side for sure. And so I think vibe coding offers this opportunity as somebody who's on the design side to create an interface, feed it into Cursor and say, hey, can you make this real? This is a drop down. Can we do some validation on this form field? And so the power is so intoxicating, and this is where like vibe coding is just like it's addicting. You have now empowered people with ideas to
Yep.
make them real, and it's yeah. I mean, like it used to be like, oh, I got some free time. What am I gonna do? Now I'm like, I got some free time. What can I vibe code? What can I build? What can I like? I've got these ideas for things. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I saw somebody on X, of course, where all the hot takes, all the bad hot takes are saying vibe coding is like using a slot machine, right? You put in money, you get in tokens, you get out tokens, and
yep,
you have this variable reward, right? Because sometimes you hit the jackpot
yep.
and sometimes you just get a dud, right? But the nice thing about these tools is that you can just try again, right? And if it's not working, the cost of throwing things away is, especially the emotional cost of throwing things away,
Yeah.
is is um, is minimized, right? And minimizing that is great because it allows you to try more things faster at the same time.
You can do your own stunts, and there's no risk to doing your own stunts, so that's kind of a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I will say the kind of tricky side is like without a rule set in Cursor that is like defined of where you should go. Like if you just kind of like go into Cursor and go, hey, do this thing, like I was doing on the aem-live website, and
Hmm.
it started going off and like rewriting scripts.js and oh, I found all
Oh,
these problems and all these other errors. I'm like, no,
yeah,
stay within my code, man. It's my block. Don't go outside of my block. But
yeah,
yes,
yeah,
lesson learned.
yeah. And I think one of the things that is funny is that these different models have different personalities, right? That 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 cursor, and I don't know what default model they're using, has this tendency to over refactor, right? To say, oh, and there are so many things I can do on top of it.
Yeah.
I've seen Claude doing this thing where it's always trying to write a helpful documentation report where you think, hey, who do you think I am? I already have too much to read. I'm going to delete it. And well, and we all know about "You're absolutely right," which I think is, well, it's refreshing to read it the first time. So,
Yeah.
uh, Alex, what about you? Do you have a do, do you have a fun vibe coach story to share, or even to screen share?
I'm not sure if this would be fun, but I can talk about it for sure.
Yeah.
So in my daily job, I basically vibe code all half of the time, and actually, it's even true in my normal life. I talk to ChatGPT for every single thing I'm doing. I mean, that's a bit exaggerated, but when I want to prepare something, I mean, my wife came with the vacuum issue, and I said, okay, let's ask ChatGPT, and basically it generates a script, and then I can take my screwdrivers and just basically repair vacuum, and I just apply that into my daily job. So I I don't I don't necessarily use Claude a lot for the code I own. For example, I did some PRs on DA today. And this is where I not yet there. I don't trust it enough to go into the code and understand it. So that's where when I prefer to have control. But whenever I don't know, then this is where I start with a prompt. So I can show you some quick examples, and maybe
Yeah,
this is inspiring
yeah,
for some other people. Um, One thing I'm pretty bad at, and there are a lot of them, but it's bash scripts. And actually, I realized that writing bash scripts can save your life for millions of things. And now I have a tendency to write bash scripts all over the place to do simple
yes,
things. So before, here this script is about reading an R2 or S3 bucket and reading files in the S3 bucket. So at the
yep,
beginning, you start, you go in the UI, you click, but the Cloudflare UI is really painful. So going to the document, and even you have to download the document to see what's in there. So I thought
yep,
I'm gonna ask Claude to do it. So I don't have I think, oh yeah, I have the beginning. So I just say, okay, I just create a bash script that reads the document. I don't give that much detail. I know I have the credentials in the dev var
hmm
file, and I hope I'm not gonna screen share them. But basically, I let it do, and then I run the script, and just making my life so much easier by just
right,
okay, give me that document, and I can focus on the task I want to do instead of spending time to write a script.
yeah,
So it's a really really game changer for me because I just go so much faster.
right.
Um, yep.
One of the things that I appreciate about these tools is that they don't have opinions regarding syntax, right?
Yeah.
I I hate bash syntax with a passion. But at the same time, I really like the portability and the ease of the tool, right? So being able to put somebody between me and bash is something that is fantastic, right? And the less I like the programming language, the more likely I'm willing to pull in um, pull in coding assistance, right? And I do enjoy writing code, but not in all languages, and fortunately, I don't have to do that anymore. So it's broadening my horizon regarding available tools.
Something along these lines. So Alex worked on. We recently migrated. We actually migrated Cloudflare accounts for DA, and there were over 950 organizations that had to be moved. Zero downtime. There were, I don't know, like 4 million plus documents that were involved. And Alex wrote, so we knew the technology that we wanted to use. There's this really great piece of software called rclone, but it's very feature rich, but it's also very, like, the documentation, as you can imagine, is very terse and it's very dense. And
hmm
something that I saw with Alex, because he did all of this work to help us migrate, and I think all of the migration was pretty much like 99% vibe coded, right, Alex?
Yeah.
And what was kind of cool about it is, like, you as a developer, you might go read those docs, and even if you're able to understand those docs, but Cursor was able to actually find other references to um, features and APIs that were undocumented because it was
hmm
looking at GitHub and things. And so it actually enabled us, because you as a human, sure, you can go read those docs, but if there's undocumented APIs that are beneficial to you, you don't know about those. And like Claude, Cursor, because they're scanning these public GitHub repos, they're going to find things that you will never ever be able to find, and you can accomplish a lot more. And then, yeah, another plus one too. I don't want to write bash scripts, but I certainly need them. So now it's become my absolute go-to when I need a bash script. It's like, okay, just ask Cursor to do it.
Yeah. And I think speaking of this migration project, I know that you dragged your feet on that project a while.
Yeah.
Because it seemed like a really huge task.
Huge.
And I've seen, at least for me, vibe coding and automated coding tools lower the barrier of starting, right? And yes, the downside of this is that you can get into a situation where you think, oh yeah, that's just a in and out 20-minute adventure thing. And then it turns out that 3 days later you're still trying to get the prompts right. Um, and I think what you have to realize is that there are no sunk cost when it comes to vibe coding. Right? You can always say throw it all away and start from scratch. And that's generally a good tactic, right? Don't value Claude's time the same way you value your own time. Claude's time is free. Okay.
I
Alex,
have
if
another
you
example if I'm allowed to talk a little bit more.
you are you're invited.
Because
Now I
I've
see the
been
screen.
told
Wonderful.
that I'm sharing my screen, yeah.
Yes.
Perfect. Now I see it.
Okay. So I've been asked to help the team building that software because it was urgent. And the team is a strong React team. I mean, the people developing only with React, and I'm not necessarily friend with React, but especially that there are things like the use effect and those kind of things that if you don't practice very frequently, you forget, and then you don't remember which one you have to do use, etc., etc. And I
Yep.
discovered actually that the team, even though they're React expert, they only vibe code actually. This whole UI is vibe coded. So they ask Claude to write this chart. So they
Yep.
at least they start like this and then they fine tune it. But all the building blocks here have been vibe coded. So they just explain me the process. Say, okay, yeah, you have this thing to add, just ask Claude and then you guide it a little bit and that's it. So they also tweak their cursor to add some context. So they also want Claude to write the code in a certain way, especially for a project when you are like six developers working on. You still want the code to look the same and don't have the preferences for each developer to take over. So you can also set up your project to share the best practices, and so the code that's outputted, it looks almost the same across the board. But this whole product, actually it's a full product, is fully vibe coded, and I found that super amazing, especially that if you think about edge delivery services or Helix, it's much harder actually. If you want to build your blocks, I already tried multiple times, but if you want to start building blocks, and you would think, oh, but blocks are just a simple piece of JavaScript plus CSS, and this is where Claude has a bit more hard time to produce something good. But that's
Yeah.
just because the knowledge is not yet there. So, but for React, there are millions of lines of code everywhere, just explaining how to build a component, how to generate whatever thing you want to generate. So it has enough data, and that makes a
It's not
huge difference in terms of
it's
quality.
not it's not just that there's a lot of pre-training for React, but some of the most important benchmarks for agentic coding are essentially React and Tailwind based. So a lot of the reinforcement learning is happening towards that stack, and that's definitely something that concerns me when I think about things that are where performance is critical and where user experience is critical, right? Where we might want to optimize this for this new world. Okay,
Yeah,
so
I just, Lars, I just wanted to mention something around what you said, Alex. I remember that team worked on the example you said, right? Because it's part of my team. I really, and it's great that you've seen or kind of experienced this, right? So because my direction was clearly do as much as you can with vibe coding, right? Get as far as you can. Check out the boundaries around all of this, and I think what you just mentioned is a good testimony how far you get really in this journey, regardless whether it's React or another technology. So put that aside.
Oh, yeah, and you can be proud of your team because they are so. I mean, I think they bootstrap the app in like 2 hours. But the full app completely with the user login, etc.
Yes.
And then it takes a while because there are a lot of requirements coming in, and you have to. Then it becomes a real engineering team. But it's crazy how fast they are to build stuff.
Yeah. No, it was amazing to see that. I
And
totally agree, and I think
it's
that's
production ready code. I mean, it's not like it's really dirty, etc. I mean, there are things that could be improved, but in general, it's production ready. It's not a POC.
yeah. Yeah, no, and I think that's awesome part around vibe coding anyways, right? You get so quickly so far, and it creates a lot of good vibes on your end, and I believe that's why it's being called vibe coding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dragos,
Is my mic working, by the way?
I've seen that you have your camera going. So let's see if you have your microphone going as well.
Yes. Is my mic going? Is it working?
Yes.
Hey.
Yes. Perfect.
Hey,
So,
so two quick thoughts. Something I really love about vibe coding is that the amount of things that I try by myself, it's much bigger because the AI writes code, right? I don't have to faster than I can type. So I try more variations, and I'm more happy with what I get in the end. I can try something, I don't like it, I throw it. It doesn't matter. Um, And what's interesting also, the second thought I want to share is some of the agents behind this screen that Alex showed. We also vibe code. It's Python behind the scenes, and we have about a year since we have this monorepo where we put. I think we have. I think we have more than 30 agents. And what's interesting is the more mature the repo is, and when we ask an agent to write code, it follows the principles that in time we added into that repo, like folder structure, the style of developing agents, the style that we write the prompts, reusing that, and it is. I feel like it's a compounded value. Like now, when I want to write a more complex agent, I have more decisions that we have taken previously that my new agent is building upon.
okay. So, I I would also like to hear from Tom. And given that we lost one of the two Toms,
Well,
there's a lot less ambiguity about this. And
Yep.
Alex, you mentioned your challenges in getting Cursor to write something that passes as acceptable edge delivery code, and Tom is the master in getting Cursor to doing what we wanted to do when it comes to edge delivery services.
Yes, thanks, Lars. Well, what I did was I wrote a 13-part how edge delivery services works blog post series. And in that, my audience was humans and my AI. I was trying to create a structure that the AI would understand how edge delivery services worked. So I fed in the breakdown of how you create a Google Doc. It turns into the markdown, which turns into the served HTML, which turns into the delivered HTML, which turns into the rendered HTML, which is quite a lot of complicated steps, which Claude and Cursor had no clue about whatsoever. I spent about a year on this little project, and when I finished, it still wasn't good enough. So it was still making mistakes. So I went to the next level, and I've set up a bunch of private Markdown files which explain in great detail for an AI how it all goes together. And I built my own scripting to fire up a browser such that Claude or Cursor can create HTML pages as if they've been. Sorry?
Yes, I
No,
think
I
there was.
get Claude. Okay. I create the HTML page. I get Claude or Cursor to create the HTML pages in the different stages, as if they'd been served by Helix, as if they'd been rendered by aem.js, etc. Therefore, Claude could step in and do the whole process for me, debug at different levels, not care about Google Docs, not care about GitHub, or anything like that. Claude knew everything that it had to do to get every phase. And I built an extensive level of documentation. So it's not like vibe coding. Great amount of detail and training went into getting Claude to work. And once you got that going, you then do the vibe coding to tune it up, and you get the edge cases that you missed. So that is how I get Cursor to do what I want, and it really does give fantastic results. Spend the time training your AI.
Yeah, I think one way to think about this is that as long as you are getting started, you are basically vibe coding, but sooner or later you're building tools and you're building a harness for the model, right? And that harness that harness can keep it away from danger, and can make it much more powerful. And I've been doing a lot there with Claude Code in particular, which has interesting features like it has the ability to do custom slash commands. So for one project, I wrote a slash command, basically instructing Claude to look at the GitHub Actions error messages, identify what the particular issue is, and then fix it. You have in Claude Code now the ability to define custom subagents, which is also fantastic because it allows you to. Right, one limitation that these models have at the moment is that they have limited context windows, and if you run out of context window, basically all bets off, right? And different tools deal it in different ways. Claude basically tells you you're at the end of the context window, I'm going to compact, and it's always coming back way dumber. Cursor is doing this. Cursor is doing this gradually, so it never tells you. It tells you in a tiny print saying you should start a new chat, but it's getting gradually and slowly dumber. I'm using Z, which basically says it will just it will won't try to do the getting stepwise or gradually dumber approach. It will basically start with a countdown, right? You start with 128k context window, and then every message you add is eating down from that, which is creating a lot of anxiety for me because I'm the kind of person who always likes to have my phone charged to 100%. I know it's not wise. Don't tell me about it. But it's an interesting way to deal with the to deal with the constraint, and custom subagents allow you to basically have a clearly defined task, right? And that task could be check what the PSI status is on edge delivery services, identify if there are issues, then check for the most common performance issues that are that occur, and iterate on that individually. Or I had another one which was to write custom commit messages. And the nice thing about this is anytime Claude is calling a subagent, whatever that subagent is doing is not going into the main context, and that creates a lot of extra power for the system. So, Tom Valletta, I know you've been struggling with the connection. Let's see if we can get you still to get a word in, because I'd like to hear from you.
Yeah, I'd love to. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
No.
Or did I speak too soon? I
No.
think I spoke too soon. So, okay. Tom, we can see you again.
Something
I
is
think-
not working today. Really bad.
Yeah. I think the mistake that Tom is making is to work out of the office. I see everybody else here is either working from home or from some other company's office. So, okay, yeah. So, and another thing that I found incredibly interesting, and I've been sharing this with Tom Cranstoun, is the ability to run multiple agents in parallel, right? If you have a code base that is sufficiently big, you can, in a lot of cases, do this where you say, I have 3 tasks that I want to work on, and let's just start on them in parallel, and I can quickly show you something, because this is a tool that I found about a month ago. Okay, now it's my time to wait. Show all windows. Are you able to see my screen?
Nope.
No. Okay,
No.
perfect. Give me 1 second. Oh, yeah. Okay, so the funny thing is I cannot see the window that I want to share. Let me try something. Let me try something else. Are you now able to see my screen?
Yeah, now it's coming.
Okay, perfect.
Super.
So, this is a tool that I found about a month ago, and the impact that it had, you can actually see when I found this tool, when you go to my GitHub contribution graph, because on that day I found it. Oh, basically, I think I found it on a Wednesday, and by Friday I figured out what I could do with it, which is to run many tasks in parallel. And one of the interesting things is basically running Claude code for you, or in this case, OpenAI Codex, in a small Linux container in the cloud. And whenever Claude is doing something, the container is running, and whenever Claude is waiting for input, the container is shut down. So it's very compute efficient. And you can have things like automations. So for instance, I have a workflow that is saying every day analyze recently merged PRs for unaddressed review comments and suggest follow-up tasks. And let me open this. So we see one here, and it's doing the typical Claude code thing. And the interesting thing here is that it's then doing that is implemented a custom MCP server that can suggest subtasks. And I can review these subtasks, and I can just start this one. I can start that one, and I can start that one. And no, that one looks boring. And that one also looks boring. And that's it. And now I'm going to archive this. And in the background, I can see already how it's working on 3 things in parallel. It's going to keep churning on these. And I have a couple more tasks that it's working on. One is this huge refactoring that I started on Monday, which actually was born out of a hey, do this and think of 20 things that we should improve here. Found out that it's taking a lot of time, and I'm very close to actually giving into the sunk cost, but in the meantime I can just clear the context and can say, run the CI cycle, do the typical thing, and iterate. So it's saying here, okay, I haven't been able to identify the root cause. Let's see. Let's give it another try. And the fantastic thing about this is that this is not just working great on one computer, but you can also use it from the phone. So you can iterate on a code base, at least in cases where you don't where you're not sitting in front of a computer. As I mentioned, this requires one of the things that this requires is it requires a good harness, and that was one of the biggest things for me for this project to come up with a good structure of Claude commands, of Claude subagent definitions. So here's that's actually my favorite subagent, which is a project update agent that is giving me once a week a project update. So let's say it's a parody of a project manager, of course, and there are extensive tests here, extensive linting rules to make sure that the code that is being generated has minimum quality. Another thing that is really fun about this is that you can use Claude Code as a reviewer, basically in a GitHub action, and this it's running with my credentials, so it looks like I wrote this, but in reality it's Claude. So that's another Claude instance that is giving a very, very detailed review. And I found this really interesting because first I thought, well, if Claude is writing the code and then another Claude is going to review it, then it's just going to applaud itself. But that's not the case, right? It finds critical issues, marks these things, and it gives you something to start iterating on. And now I'm going to try to stop sharing.
Lars, I'm curious, how do you think that this is to set up Terragon and connect it so that it does, and how do you feel about it doing things on your behalf in the background, possibly things that you might not agree? Like, how did you get to trust that?
So for this project is something that I think is very low stakes. Basically, it's a side project, and I'm mainly using it to see what degree of parallelization I can push it. Right. For things that are work related, I actually review everything that basically I review everything that is going into the pull request, and I apply the same rigor to Claude's pull requests that I would apply to Alex's pull requests, right? Maybe uh, maybe even a bit more rigor, because I know I can never hurt Claude's feelings. Whatever I say, it's going to say, Lars, you're absolutely right, and your criticism is absolutely justified. So yeah.
Yeah, the
Okay.
reason why I ask is that
Yeah.
recently I was working with the agent as well to do something, and I was in Python, and I was asking to do some data crunching, and anyway, get some a little bit more sophisticated stats from the data.
Yeah.
And I look and behold, like the agent just writes like 200, 300 lines of code, and then it just completely missed not a random library that is out there that has, some dude wrote it, but it missed like pandas, and numpy, and didn't use those, and SciPy as well. And I found this so interesting that I had to tell the agent, hey, there's this very famous library that can do this. And I'm wondering if somebody that is not advanced in Python, maybe beginner to intermediate, you have to
Yeah.
catch this and say, but if you're not, my goodness, you have like hundreds of lines of code additionally that are just not.
Yeah.
You don't want to see that.
Yeah. So and for my project, I'm writing Python, right? And my last time writing Python in Angel was when I was in university. So I'm actually this one person, right? The person who is not well versed in Python and knows what Python is good at. So what I did was, when I started the project, I said, tell me what a good project setup for Python would look like in terms of tooling, right? Do I need a type checker? Do I need a linter? What's the test framework? And it basically gave me a reasonable overview. And you can also tell it to use web search, which is also helpful. So I needed an external library, and there were multiple library options available. And one way of doing this would be to say, please use the web and research library. The other alternative that I would actually do now is to say, find out all the libraries that exist and create follow-up tasks for every single one. Then code POCs for each of the libraries in parallel, and then start another one, which is saying, please compare these 7 approaches that you've created and tell me which one is the best, right? And that's something that I've done a couple of times, where I had Claude and ChatGPT, or Claude and GPT 5i, code competitively against each other, and then either brought in another agent and said, pick the winner, or I allowed them to peek over into the other PR, and I said, there's some other programmer who's doing this same PR, steal the best ideas from them, and both of these things work, right? You can have these iterations, and get a second opinion. So I hear that Ron wanted to pitch a webinar that is starting right now. Do you want to tell us about the webinar really quickly before I go to the inevitable question that Dominic is already bracing for?
Yeah. So no, I mean it's Cursor CLI. So it was something that I saw that was advertised internally here at Adobe, and I signed up for it. So they gave me a ping, and I'm like, I'll be there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and it's incredible. It's incredibly hard to follow the process, right? I've been on vacation for 3 weeks, and I've been reading Twitter during all of that time, right? And I saw this whole ChatGPT 5 is coming out. ChatGPT 5 is a huge disappointment. Oh, ChatGPT 5 might actually be good. And no, I'm going to cancel my Claude Code subscription. I've seen this entire hype cycle go through within 3 weeks, and it's incredible. It's an incredible time. Really hard to keep up, but really great to see how everyone is trying and is sharing their experiences. So thanks everyone for joining today. I I think we can check back in half a year and see if we are up from 90% vibe coded to 99% vibe coded by then. And that leaves me with one last question. Dominic, when are we going to see each other again?
We see us for sure in 2 weeks, September 11. So there you can keep up with edge delivery services for AEM's forms. This is available. So we will have something about edge delivery, and maybe in between we can make something, but that is not fixed. So maybe you have to move it. That's why I'm not saying what we are doing. We will announce it as soon as we have it. Some AI, some gray AI tools, of course.
Excellent. Yeah. Thanks, everyone. I hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.
Good. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Join the next webinar.